Hello, Nina Mastropietro here with TRC Companies. It's been a while since I made a video and wanted to hop on to talk about difficult interview questions and how to answer them with as much detail as possible. A cousin of mine reached out 2 nights ago and asked me to go over a couple of questions with him. He has his dream interview coming up tomorrow and wanted to practice his answers with me. So I wanted to share some of the things we went over. Hopefully some of these tips will be helpful. One of the things I told him, and I tell everyone, is to make sure you answer the questions with as much detail as possible. I recommend doing this by having your resume and the job description side by side. Read them over continuously until you can think of a relevant example of something you've done that the job description requires. When someone asks, how many years experience do you have in XYZ? Don't just answer it by saying, I have 5 years experience working in XYZ. You want to answer that with as much detail. Say something along the lines of, I have 5 years experience working on XYZ. I am working with it in my current position where I am involved in several different projects that involve XYZ. Not only that, but I am working on getting certified and or talk about any other relevant experience. Another thing that is important to talk about is be honest with your answers. If you have 80-90% of the job experience and you are lacking a few things, be honest with what you don't have. If you don't have experience with, say, budgeting, tell them, look, I may not have experience with budgeting at this scale, but I do have experience with budgeting in a lower scale where I worked on it in college, where I worked for the sports department. I was responsible for a portion of the budget, and mention as much detail as possible. If you remember the numbers to what that budget was, or even a guesstimate, show that you remembered what that was, try to find out what that information is, and basically the more detail, the better. If you don't have it and you know ways of gaining that experience, say, I don't have this experience, however, one of my coworkers is well versed in this and explained to me the steps I need to go about in gaining this experience. He or she gave me several different certification programs to look into, and maybe even ask, is this something that your company would reimburse for certifications? So show that you're going above and beyond by getting certified and showing that you have done your due diligence and that you really want this position. One of the most difficult things at the end of the interview is when the interviewer asks, do you have any additional questions? And sometimes they may have answered all the questions you had written down, and you're sitting there thinking to myself, oh God, what do I ask next? You're nervous. I always tell people, always ask why that interviewer, hiring manager, loves most about their job. Show that you've done your research. Say something like, I found you on LinkedIn and I see that you've been in this position for 7 years now. What has kept you here for the past 7 years? What is the one thing that you love most about this role in this company? What is something that you like least about this company and role? What are some of the traits that you look for? What are some of the traits that your current employees have that make them excel in this role? And what are some of the traits of employees that have not done well in this role? Things like that are questions that you can't find online. You want to make sure never to ask a question that you can easily Google and find on their website. So I hope that's helpful. Again, the more detail, the better. Make sure that you look up the hiring manager on LinkedIn, trying to find as much information as possible. Make sure that you know the job description, even a few minutes before the interview. Go over your resume, go over your LinkedIn. You may think of something last minute that you can add to your questions, but the more detailed, relevant experience to what you have is definitely going to be key in highlighting your experience and showing that you're the best candidate. And one more thing before I forget, never leave without asking that difficult question. Is there anything that does not make me a fit for this role? Are there any qualifications that I lack that may not make me a fit for this role? However you feel most comfortable asking that question, find it in a way that you feel comfortable asking, and make sure to ask that at the end of the interview. You can also say something like, are there any answers that you would like for me to elaborate on? That shows your interest and your confidence. So I hope that was helpful. If so, please share this video with anyone that might be struggling with interview questions. I love helping people with their resumes, LinkedIn profiles, so feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. I hope that you have a fabulous rest of the day. Bye now.